you want to stand and we'll do the pledge real quick? Yeah.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, I'll call Morgan Township Trustee Work Session Meeting, January 24th, 2022, 6 p.m. Could I get a roll call?
Sure. Mr. Brooker?
Yes.
Mr. Huff?
Yes.
Mr. Kolb, absent.
Yes, Mr. Cole is absent, okay.
Okay, Rob, can walk in here.
Sure.
You want to go ahead and start us off, Chief?
Sure, absolutely. So again, just to reiterate for the trustees, we had our state audit last year, and one of the things that was found in the audit that was brought up that we didn't have data, backup data collection for all of our UAN and anything like that. We had no backup. So it was brought up as one of the things to correct in our state audit. So with that, we did some research and found the folks here from SWOCA that are located in the county next to D. Russell Lee at Butler Tech in Fairfield Township. They have now started to integrate, and I'll let them explain that, started to integrate working with townships. They do a lot of school boards and all that, and they started integrating with some of the townships now, doing kind of the services that we're looking for, data collection as one, again, that was brought up at the state audit, and then also some additional services that they could add, they could provide the township as an alternative to some of the services we're using now. So with that, I believe Mark will be the speaker, and we'll let Mark get up and start speaking. And you have a packet, as well as they've got a PowerPoint. I think we need to swap the PowerPoint over.
I'll switch.
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks, Mark.
So good evening, folks. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak with you today. On behalf of my leadership, Donna Davis Norris, our Executive Director, Todd Yohe, our Associate Director, I'm proud to represent this thing called SWOCA. And by way of introduction, I want to spend a few minutes just to make sure you're familiar with who we are, what we do, and most importantly, what it means to be empowered by SWOCA. First and foremost, it's important to note that SWOCA is a council of governments. We are structured under Ohio Revised Code. We were formed in 1979 by Ohio Revised Code primarily to serve school districts. There are 18 of us across the state that make up something called the Ohio Education Computer Network, the OECN. Together, the OECN serves about 1.4 million school students here in the state of Ohio. SWOCA is the ITC that primarily serves Butler, Warren, and Preble County. Our roots go back here in Butler County over 35 years. Currently, we are a member-owned consortium of 43 public school districts, including the 3 county educational service centers and 4 regional career tech centers. Pretty much, if you have a public school student anywhere in this county, your school district and your home school districts is being served by SWOCA and our team. We also consist of 12 non-public school districts throughout the area, 5 local governments, including your peers over at Fairfield Township, who we believe made the introduction originally, and we appreciate them for that. And we are proud to say that we're the largest single-site ITC. First of all, what is an ITC? It's an information technology center. We exist primarily to serve the taxpayers of the school districts. And as I said, we are a consortium of those school districts. We're very proud of the fact that in every neighboring county that we serve, at least one entity has chosen us over their home ITC for their ITC operations. We are the largest single-site ITC. I do want to acknowledge there's one other ITC in the state that is larger than we are, but they are a combination of 4 separate entities. Excuse me one second, let me make sure that's nothing important. Okay. They are a combination of 4 separate entities and grew through acquisition. Our growth has been 100% organic. As Chief mentioned, we are located right down the road on the campus of D. Russell Lee, where we've had our operations home-based for at least 15 years, I think longer than that. We go actually all the way back to our origin in 35 years ago. Our member school districts, again, 43 members. We're nothing without them. We exist to serve them. A quick nod to those, including Ross Local, your local school district here. In fact, our network is literally less than a half a mile away from your building. Morgan Elementary is one of our locations. We serve first and foremost the Ohio Department of Education. We exist because they wrote us into law to help serve the school districts in data acquisition across the state. So a lot of the issues that the chiefs brought to our attention are issues that we've already solved for our educational partners. We also have a very close consortium relationship with ORNET, the Ohio Academic Resources Network. That is the large multi-gigabit backbone that goes throughout the entire state. Those are two of our key partners. In the packets in front of you, you'll see a one-pager that outlines our vision. I want to call your attention really quick to our core values: integrity, innovation, empowerment, dependability, and most importantly, customer-focused. As I mentioned, we are a member-owned consortia, so we exist primarily to serve the taxpayers already. In fact, 90% of our operating cost is already funded by the taxpayers because we are owned by our members. ITCs across the state have 5 core services. We provide physical services for our members, student services, so if you want to check on your students' grades, that's a server usually that lives at our data center. Library services for something called InfoOhio, so again, more school district focused. EMIS, and then the important issue for us today to talk about is internet and network services. These are the 5 core services that every single ITC across the state of Ohio offers. What we call the SWOCA Advantage are the extra things, and this is where we see some potential for the township. Document management and digital workflow, managed voice over IP, managed network, managed wireless, hosted virtual servers, data center co-location, managed backup, which my colleague Wes will talk about here in a few moments, email archiving, cybersecurity, training tools, etc. Asking our members about us, and these are actual quotes. I did not pay people for these, although I kind of wish I had thought about it. From our customer satisfaction survey last year, what response time is called for above and beyond to help with any issues. Susan over at Hamilton City Schools worked well together, loved by all. Monroe Local, our workshops are so very helpful. Responsive, experienced, knowledgeable people. And this is one quote I'm really proud of. Adam Truex, who's my counterpart from a sister ITC across the state in Omarisa, actually called out to our leadership exceptional abilities and support. So not just our members, but our peers also look to us as one of those leaders. What we offer for Morgan Township is a high reliability design for our network, because we serve 140,000 school students across 7 counties. We'll go into, there is an Uptime Institute that rates data centers based on how reliable they're designed to be. And we have every element on this list except for we do not have a second redundant power supply. There's only one electric provider that serves central Butler County, where we're located. So that's the only reason we are not the full Tier 4 of a data center. What does this mean? This means that by being part of SWOCA and being connected to SWOCA, your infrastructure is very reliable. One of the things that the chiefs shared with us in our earlier conversations was the limitation of reliability for your current internet connection. And that's one of the things we definitely would like to address. Our wide area network, which is the network that interconnects the schools, less than 20 minutes of downtime a year, unscheduled downtime. Obviously, we have to take things offline. And then our core network, those are operations inside our data center, about 40 minutes a year of unexpected downtime. We're very proud of those metrics. Wes will talk about this in a few moments, but we offer full replication disaster recovery. Every piece of data that we have in our data center here in Butler County is actually replicated to the SOC, the State Operations Computer Center in Columbus. And the proposal that we're bringing to you today even offers another layer of disaster recovery and replication from that point. We monitor our system 24/7. Again, 140,000 school students count on us. So we actually monitor these locations and have a map that's up on our display, just like behind you, that is up and showing us our network status 24/7. In fact, there it is. So we offer over 35 years of experience here in Butler County. We are born and bred right here. We already serve your neighborhoods. We already serve the township. by our relationship with the school district. Better than 99.999% uptime. Nothing's 100% because things do happen, but we've made a very conscious effort to minimize that. Our staff is very experienced in these areas. As Chief Galloway mentioned, we do have other townships that we work with, including Fairfield Township, where we offer quite a bit of, excuse me, quite a bit of services there. Hang on a second. All right. So what do we want to do, or what do we offer Morgan Township, and what would it mean for Morgan Township to be powered by SWOCA? The 3 pages in the packet that you have with you. The first big issue is we need to make you eligible for services from SWOCA. And you have to have at least one core service in order to get services from SWOCA. Well, there's only one core service that makes sense for a township, and that is our internet-based and network services. So we propose that we would find a way to connect the township to our network, that highly reliable internet service we talked about. As part of that, you get network support, monitoring, and whatever filtering you feel is appropriate for the township. And as a base part of that, next generation firewall and cybersecurity services. So you might be familiar with acronyms like intrusion detection, intrusion prevention, denial of service protection. All of those are a base part of our solution. From what we've learned in our conversations with the township, the internet service that you have now is basically a consumer-grade internet in a business class. It comes to the building on coax. We do not find this as reliable for today's government entities, and so therefore we would definitely recommend that you move to or back to fiber. We understand there's fiber already here in the facility. Our intention is to utilize that fiber through our partnerships. We heard that you have a voice over IP solution that might not be the most stable. From what we've learned of that, we believe that we can offer significant savings once we have our connection into Morgan Township. We currently support over 6,000 handsets across 18 school districts and municipal entities. Again, there's the 99.99% uptime. This is a hybrid solution. Currently, your solution is 100% cloud-based. So if you have a drop in connection to the internet, you completely lose your telephone service. That's not the case here. Your telephone lines would actually terminate in our data center. And so if you would have a loss in connectivity to SWOCA, fiber cuts do happen, then your systems are still online, your voicemail is still answering, and we can actually route that call to your cell phone or any other location that's on our network across the 9-county area. That's what we mean by a hybrid platform, the best of both worlds. You don't have to pay for that massive infrastructure for a telephone system, but you also don't have to support it, so you get the best of the value of a cloud-based provider, but also having that local presence and that local integration. Managed backup service. I'm going to ask Wes to come up and talk a little bit more about this. This is one of the things that we've heard loud and clear that you guys needed. So my colleague Wes, whose team runs this service, is going to speak more. Wes?
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you. We met with Chief Galloway and Griffith the other day, and kind of the main thing I took out of it from a backup standpoint is you guys need to get UAN back up, not only locally, but sent up to the cloud somewhere offsite, because that was in your audit. We have a few ways that we manage backups at SWOCA. Fairfield Township basically moved their whole data center to our data center. So how we do it that way is we back up their stuff, we send it up to Columbus to the DR site. That way we have it in both locations. We can spin up their VMs up in Columbus if need be from a disaster, flood, I mean, whatever. And the main point, this wouldn't apply to you, but the main point I want to tell you is we do this, we know how to do it, and the technology that we're going to recommend that you go to is a appliance based. So
No, that's not him.
for something like this, we put an appliance in one of your closets or wherever your wiring closet is, usually a Datto device. Datto is a appliance-based backup We would put a client on the UAN laptop. It would talk to the appliance. It would do a backup, usually once an hour, and then send that up to their cloud. Their cloud is private, which means it's owned by Datto. It's not going to China or Russia or somewhere else. It's secure. It is certified SOC 2, which is a standard for reliability and security. So, I mean, when we price this out, we price the lowest tier that we have right now, which is a 2 terabyte model, which will be plenty for one laptop. But we also can include some different prices if you want to expand this in the future to do workstations or other types of backups. These cloud backups are good for 1 year, so you can go back for a year. They offer longer retention if you want it, but that comes with a price. So what we had proposed was a 1 year. All the backups are fully encrypted. And this is just good for if an attacker gets in, the first thing they're going to go for is your backups for ransomware. Because if you can't restore your stuff, then you're either going to have to pay up or you lose your data. So when it goes to the cloud, it becomes immutable. When I say immutable, I mean it's basically a read-only copy. So if someone even sees it, they can't do anything to it. They can't change it. Datto gives us a lot of flexibility when it comes to restores. Say you have a hardware failure, say you got ransomware, say you have data corruption or something like that. We have the ability to restore it straight back to the laptop. We can spin up a copy on the actual appliance that sits here. We can spin up a copy up in the cloud. We can take it and import it into our data center. So there's multiple options of disaster recovery. That is about it as far as the Datto solution. The best feature, in my opinion, is every day, usually in the evening, the full backup during the day, Datto will take it up in the cloud and boot it up. They will take a picture of that. They will email it to us. So that proves that your backup works, that it's bootable, and if something happens here, you can get it back. And that's kind of how I sleep at night when I see stuff like that. Because if your backups don't, I mean, you can back up all you want. If you can't test them and make sure they work, then they're useless. We test backups once a month. I actually just did that today for all of our managed backup clients. So someone would be designated the tech contact. They would get an email from me once a month with a little report saying your backups are working. And that's about all I have, unless you have any questions.
I do. Explain to me, unless I misunderstood, it only backs up for 1 year?
Yeah.
Because our retention is a lot longer than 1 year on the documents that we have to.
I'm just referring to UAN at this point. So it will keep a copy of the latest backup for 1 year.
But
Okay.
you said it's available to have more, right? I mean, longer?
Absolutely.
Okay, is it a substantial amount difference in money or what?
It depends. If you're wanting to do 1 year or forever, probably. I would have to look at the price sheet.
It wouldn't be forever. We don't have to keep them forever. do we?
No, we don't, but
But
I mean,
certain
we've
things
got,
are 7
we've got
years.
stuff that is not on UAN that is in hard copies. We need to get all those hard copies into an
So-
electronic form.
Yeah, they
and keep
discussed,
those.
they discussed a solution for that, document
Okay, well,
solution.
then explain that, because that's.
Because we talked about it, one of the things we talked about, and I'm not picking, is, say, fuel logs. And we know from other places how important fuel logs are.
Yep.
you could digitalize that and have those forever.
Yes, that was,
So
that
explain
was
that,
gonna be.
that part of it.
That's my question is that we would, I think from the township, we want to data back up everything and all paper stuff here and not just UAN as a package data
Correct.
backup.
That's what we had discussed, because there's such plethora of paper sitting
Yeah,
back
so,
there.
so the UAN would be on this appliance that we put wherever. The document management that we talked about, that would be through a third party that we use called SCView. I don't deal with SCView much, so I don't know what their retentions are, and as far as how long. I'm guessing once you're a customer at SCView and you put a document in there, it's there forever.
Okay, that's kind of what that's the immediate need. I mean, that's what came out of the audit, that we had to have a off-site backup for all our paper, hard copy files that we have,
Okay.
including UAN.
Including UAN as a full package, yes.
The message that we heard, the message that we heard loud and clear was UAN was the top priority. We want to make sure we had a solution for that. But by making you eligible for SWOCA services and UAN and the fiber connection, we can give you direct access to our data center. We can give you direct access to tools like SCView, which do have a lifetime document storage as long as that's the service you're using. The other thing that we've learned is, because we've gone through this a few times, if you decide that SCView is not the right fit, we want to make sure that we can extract that data and move it into whatever the next tool is. So we do have that full life cycle management of that information. What I'm proposing that we look at today is what are the big things that we can do to help Morgan Township right now. UAN is one of the biggest concerns that we have, but while solving the UAN problem, there's many other opportunities to potentially consolidate backups, secure data that's already digital, and frankly start evolving Morgan Township into a more cloud-based, more protected environment. One of the advantages that you have of being a small township is everything's right here on this campus. One of the disadvantages you have of being a small township is everything is right here on this campus. What we want to do is get you connected to a larger infrastructure that makes it, well, frankly, so the chief can sleep at night. He only has to worry about putting out the fire, not what happens to the data after the fire is done. So, real quick, this is the example that Wes was just talking about. We have a physical computer. Okay, pretend that's a laptop in your case. If we lose that laptop, if we lose this entire building, all the data that's there from the last backup, which could be as little as an hour old, is available in near real time. We can spin it up, as Wes said, in the cloud, on the appliance, at our data center. So those things that absolutely have to be running in order for your township to continue to serve your voters. That's what we focus on first. The things like the fuel logs and the other type of data, those are the other things that we need to look at and say, what solutions do we have? We do have some. Do they financially make sense for the township? And those are the questions that we're here to really begin exploring. The other thing that I want to make sure I called your attention to is I asked Wes, hey, can you shoot me one of those screenshots? And he literally had just gotten these emails. Here's one of our remote systems hosted by the exact same solution we're recommending for you. And we get the screenshot that not only do we confirm that the backup is there and the data is there, Datto actually boots the virtual machine to make sure that the operating system is available. And that happens daily? Yes. Daily. So, we need to make sure we understand what you're asking us to provide. I think we've got a pretty good idea. The reality is some of the things that we are going to look at are going to have costs associated with them. Our job is to make sure that we offset those costs with other savings. The internet service that you're currently using now is not a very costly service, but from what I understand, you have fiber here in the building, so you probably had fiber-based internet at one point. If we look at what internet costs today over something like a coax connection from Charter Spectrum versus what we could provide you with a fiber, you know, it's like the cost to compare. We do provide the fiber-based, highly reliable internet, but it's not going to be a cost savings right out of the gate. We need to look at things like voice over IP and data backup and things like that to make sure that we're not only solving the needs that you've brought to us, but doing it in the most cost-effective way for the taxpayers.
So do we deal directly with you, or do we deal with the SAView to?
So we would be your conduit for For SC View. So by being part of
SE,
SC,
SC View.
yes, S is in Sam, C is in Charlie View. That is who we have standardized on for our document management, and it's frankly incredibly cost-effective. One of the advantages of being part of an organization like SWOCA is you are leveraging some huge purchasing power. We sign six-figure checks to Charter every month. If we ask for something, we usually get it. So by joining the consortia of 45-plus entities, you'll be able to leverage that purchasing power as well as the expertise of folks like Wes and a room full of 20 of some of the smartest people I've ever had the privilege of working with. I know, that sounded a little rehearsed, and I'm sorry for that. I truly believe it.
No, that's fine. So how would we get the pricing for SC View?
Yes.
From you or from them?
So the first thing we would need to do is make you eligible for
Right.
SWOCA services, and then we would look at your needs. How much data, how big of a storage solution do you need? How big of an SCView solution do you need? I think we will find that once we bring SCView in and have them look at the actual data, the biggest cost is going to be getting those records that are physical into the virtual world. Once they're in the virtual world, I think you'll find the maintenance cost of those will more than pay for itself simply with the labor savings of retrieval. But exactly what it is, I'm trying to think of a good analogy. I have no idea how big of a tree we're trying to cut down.
Right.
So we would have to look at your needs and work with SCView and come up with the most appropriate solution for the
But
township.
that would work with us too. I mean, we would need to know what kind of charges, what
Exactly.
the amounts are before we'd ever consider it.
Exactly. And we don't know enough about the type of data or how much data you're looking to store in order to give you a good estimate of that. But what I can tell you is every one of our members who has looked at that has either said, oh, this is a no-brainer, or financially it doesn't make sense. The value of being a member-owned consortium is we're not out to sell you something. We're out to serve the taxpayers. So we take that very much to heart. If it doesn't financially make sense, we'll tell you.
Of the townships that you currently use, how are they approaching this in terms of their previous chunk of data that they have? I mean, we have minutes going back to the beginning of the township, basically, where trustees were involved. So, I mean, those, you're gonna put those into the cloud somewhere? I mean,
It depends on the township's record retention policy, and the first thing we would do is work with you to determine what that is or what that should be. By leveraging our partnership with the existing townships, what do they have? What do your bylaws say? And what's the appropriate amount of time? And if there is no such policy, we can connect you with people to help you write that policy.
I think that's one of
We-
our issues that we have in
We
that
have
room
a-
is we have a rent
we have-
retention policy, but that room in there has stuff from the 70s and 80s in there.
Yeah, we have to go through that and see.
They have a record retention policy, but I don't think it's ever been adhered to, ever.
So the cybersecurity analyst in me is going to say the worst thing you have is a policy that's not being followed. There's a concept called informational assets and informational liabilities. The fact that somebody owes you $100 is an informational asset. The fact that you could owe somebody $100 is an informational liability. And we find that by going through these exercises, we ask those really good questions about information management, about technology management, and really kind of the township will guide the decisions. You all will tell us what's the appropriate level. We're just going to provide you the information of what we learned from others. I wish I had more details that I could show you a map of how we can implement all of this and save you money. At this stage, we just don't know enough about the township to be able to say, yes, we can save you money and here's how. We have a few ideas which we've put forth in the packet. What we'd like to do is really dive in and explore in more detail.
Would we want to have a session maybe?
We probably should let you or SC View see what we have, and then so we get some kind of
Yeah, maybe we ought to put that
concrete number that we know what we're dealing with. Because if we know what our budget is, and if it exceeds that, it's a nice to have, but we can't do it.
Understand, one of the things that we're really good at is finding places where you might be overspending in some technology. I mentioned the voice over IP solution. I understand you use a company called Vonage. The average cost per station of Vonage is about triple what the average cost of our service is. So if we find that that's accurate, there's some money that we can free up to help pay for some of these other needs. And if we can't make it cost effective, like I said, we're gonna be honest, we're gonna tell you.
Okay.
You know,
I mean, I can see where it would be cost-effective going forward, okay? But all of this material stuff that we have, I mean, I have paper going back to 1988 in the zoning department.
Yeah.
But we need,
I can't get rid of.
but we need that stuff, Dale. A lot of that stuff, maybe come back, we might use for evidence or something.
Yeah, I
but
understand that.
zoning
but,
is-
I mean, it's in an orderly fashion inside that office right now, Daryl.
But
and I'm-
it all has
It's
to be
just-
scanned.
But it has to
But
be
it'll have to be
scanned, because if the
scanned in.
building gets hit by a tornado tomorrow, it's all gone. And we have no backup of it.
That's what
That's the
that's our
issue is-
concern.
True.
If
I mean,
this
the
gets
only
hit by a
kind of
tornado
backup
tomorrow,
I basically have now is an Excel file that it goes back to 2003 and up to today, because it's been maintained, that would show any kind of record for that certificate, but the actual certificate itself wouldn't be available.
because I know that in Tina's records room, there is stuff in there about, like the Church Street drainage grant project that we got. And some of the stuff in there is the written things that you had to go out and get for the low-income homes. Those are good for 10 years. We can use those for
That
CDBG
was
grants
Bell
for
Road
10
project,
years.
wasn't it?
The Bell Road, the Church Street, all those, we can use those again and again for 10 years. If the building gets wiped out, we've lost all those surveys that you've done. So the whole package, the key is yes, UAN's critical, because everybody wants to get paid every 2 weeks if the building gets destroyed. But I think the second tier of the backup is everything that's stuck in this building. If we get hit, it's gone, because there's no backup in another area, state, cloud, nothing, so.
And also at the UAN for Tina, it's not only if the building gets destroyed, there's ransomware that affects her computer only. She could be held ransom, and she can't recreate that right now, and you'll never get it. And that's a cost.
I would be done.
You'd be done.
I literally mean I would be done.
And the solution they're offering is you could go to your house and they could put you online with it within minutes to an hour. You would be able to do that, or from the fire station or wherever there's a computer that you can get access to. And that's what the finding is. I mean, that's the real.
I do hit, we hit the backup every day. UAN used to back up, said do it if you do payroll, which is twice a month, okay?
Now it's
Now
daily.
you have to back up every single day. So I have a disk, I trade off and on, it's in the fireproof filing cabinet,
Right.
but that's all I have.
That's the
But
backup.
you can't go to any computer and access
No.
UAN.
No.
So you,
Cannot.
She
so
can't.
we need to have that.
That's what
This
I'm saying.
package here that they back to
She could go
UAN
anywhere
up.
and do
Right.
it from anywhere.
And,
No.
and you're right, because one of their suggestions when the computer that was having so many problems, it was bad. It was bad. I said, hey, I gotta do payroll. What do you people want me to do? Well, call around and find somebody that uses UAN, and I'm like, you people are asking way too much. Way too much.
The good news is we know some of those people. But the other thing is, one of the things that we found, and one caution about UAN, there's some extra licensing. So a restoration isn't going to be a 20-minute thing. We'll have to call UAN and say, hey, we have to restore. And so it'll be a couple of hours.
When they finally did send a different computer after 9 months of problems, I spent an entire day with them getting it going.
One of the other things that our directors are looking at is there an alternative that we could provide to UAN that has more of that infrastructure built into it that's already cloud-based? We think there's an option, but we don't have enough to really tell you, yes, it's a good option,
Right.
but we are exploring that as well. UAN's a great solution. The cost is perfect for a small township, but at the same time, there's a certain trade-off that we're just not confident it's the best solution, and if there's another option, we're going to find it for you.
Well, their help services are not optimal.
Opportunities for improvement, I would say, yes.
I mean, they are of help,
Yes.
but
Limited.
if I hear, well, we can't tell you what to do, you have to tell us what you want to do, why am I calling?
One of our technicians who works basically half of her time with Fairfield Township has reported very similar frustration. And at the end of the day, you just need somebody to help you.
You don't know what you're doing, it's worse. That's me.
I'm not saying any more. But you, absolutely right, ma'am. So what I would like to see is a further exploration. As I said, we're not gonna sell you anything that doesn't fit, but I would like to find more details, your current internet connection, current cost for that Vonage solution, contractual status, and we'll be 100% transparent. You know, we exist purely on cost recovery, and as I said, the majority of our operational cost is already paid by the taxpayers because of our members. So anything that we spend on your behalf, and we'll show you exactly what that is. One of the advantages of working with the Council of Governments, we have to be as transparent as you do.
So the next steps then would be working with Tina, because, I mean, she's probably the most one that's going to be affected by
She's
this.
the records retention
And then
fiscal.
work with her to find out exactly what we're looking to back up. I mean, we can help you, Tina. We're not throwing it all on you, but, you know.
I honestly think that you guys need to get that record retention thing out and get rid of things that you can do.
Right.
And then,
An exercise like this will turn that question into a price tag that will make it very easy for you as the, you know, for you as the leaders of the township to say, that's not something we need to spend any more money on because it's no longer has any
Right.
value to the township.
All right.
So what I would suggest is, and I'll be happy to send this to the chiefs, to Tina, whoever, kind of the list of where we think we might be able to save some money.
Okay.
And at the same time, we'll start exploring what some of these solutions would look like cost-wise. Solving the UAN backup issue opens up an opportunity for what other data here is already digital. And we want to make sure if we're providing a solution, that we provide something that's going to fit you for, we don't want you to spend good money after bad. We want to make a recommendation, like, okay, a 2 terabyte solution, as Wes mentioned, will cover X, Y, and Z. But maybe you have a little bit more data than that on site. We want to make sure that we're making a good recommendation, not just getting something in here to solve the immediate problem, because every dollar that we spend of the taxpayers is a dollar that we have to be very cautious of how we.
you know, we just need to worry about the UAN thing so that we get in compliance with that. You don't want to get in trouble.
Okay.
My concern is if we just focus on UAN, we might miss some other cost savings, and we want to be very good stewards of those taxpayer funds. That's why we exist. Any other questions, folks?
No, I don't think so.
I do have one.
Mr.
You got a business card here with a Todd Yohe.
Yes.
Was he the Todd Yohe that was with
Yes.
Ross School
Yes.
District?
Todd Yohe, after leaving Ross, went to Oak Hills. Then he was the superintendent of Lebanon, and this past January, he came to SWOCA to be our associate director. And Todd sends his regards. I have my mask here out of an abundance of caution. Let's just say there's a reason certain people aren't here, and I can't say any more than that. But Todd and Donna do send their regards.
Okay.
But yes, that is one of the same Todd Yohe, and
Okay.
It's not HIPAA if you have.
All right.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'll get with Mark Weeds. Like I
Okay.
said, Chief and I have already met with him once. We'll kind of, with Tina was help as well, lay out the, I would say it's probably a two-tier. A two-tier backup is one is the UAN, and then the second is all of our other files and stuff like that. That would be the second part of that backup to then probably price it as a package deal, UAN, and then our rest of our records retention is one package deal for data retention, and then probably additional pricing for other services that they provide. I think if, again, Dale, whatever Rob's got, whatever's in this building that we have to go back 2, 3, 4 years ago that we had for a zoning issue or whatever, this building gets hit by a tornado, flood, it's gone. And we have no other way to gather that, to say, yes, UAN, because we're, like Tina says, we're identifying it in the audit to get that finished and the audit done. But part 2 of the data backup is, well, the stuff that's in that room, upstairs in the mezzanine, that's just sitting there, just waiting to get blown
The other
away.
thing is it makes efficiency, so Dale's gotta find something from 4 years has to go dig through 26 file folders. He could call it up by a search in this engine and have the document in front of him in seconds. There is a certain cost savings to his efficiencies or anybody's. If Rob needs something, a fuel log for an audit, or she needs something, you can search it. It's a searchable database. It's not just scanned in and goes away. You can get it out in a logical manner.
Yeah,
And what's that
understand
worth?
that.
So that's what I think is
a
we'll
lot.
probably do a two-tier data backup as our main pricing structure of UAN and then additional, and then we'll look at those other services as a secondary cost estimate for those. You figure with that?
Yep, that sounds good.
Excellent.
Perfect.
All right.
Thank you for coming in.
Really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate the opportunity. If you have any questions, by all means, you have our cards. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
All right. Anything else? Good. Does anybody else have anything? All right. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Butler,
Yes,
Mr. Huff,
Yes.
we are adjourned.
adjourned.